The Vrock's battlecruiser loomed over the smoldering ruins of what had once been a thriving human colony on Kepler 438 billion. Commander Zolax surveyed the destruction with grim satisfaction from the bridge viewscreen. These puny Terrans were no match for the mighty Vrock's dominion. All resistance has been crushed, Lieutenant Frolix reported. The surviving humans have surrendered. Victory is ours. Zolax's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Keep a close watch on them. I don't trust these humans, even in defeat. Their tenacity is concerning. If only he knew what horrors lay ahead for his troops. Sergeant Ethan Macmillan of the Colonial Defense Forces crawled slowly through the dense underbrush, every sense on high alert. It had been 2 days since the Vrocks destroyed the colony and rounded up the survivors. But not everyone had been captured. Mac and a few dozen soldiers and civilians had slipped away in the chaos, retreating to a hidden base deep in the jungle-covered mountains. From there they would make the alien invaders bleed for every inch of the colony they had conquered. He reached the hidden entrance and slipped inside, the camouflaged portal sliding shut behind him. Making his way down the rough-hewn tunnel, Mac entered a large cavern bustling with activity. Mechanics worked to repair salvaged vehicles and weapons. Medics tended to the wounded. Civilians pitched in however they could. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Grayson Hondo Honda, strode up to him. "What's the situation out there, Sarge?" "The Vrocks have the colony locked down tight," Mac replied grimly. "Heavy patrols, checkpoints on all the roads, a curfew in effect. They're not taking any chances." Hondo nodded. "I figured as much. So what's our play?" Mac allowed himself a faint smile. "We're going to hit them hard and fade away before they know what's happening. Guerrilla tactics. Speed, surprise, and initiative. Harry the alien bastards at every turn until holding this ball of rock becomes more trouble than it's worth." "They won't know what hit him," Hondo agreed with a fierce grin. "When do we start?" "Tonight, mate." As darkness enveloped the occupied colony, Mac led a hand-picked squad of his best fighters to the edge of the Vrock's perimeter. They moved with practiced stealth, blending into the shadows, weapons at the ready. Their target was a Vrock supply depot recently established on the outskirts of the colony. Knocking it out would deprive the aliens of vital material and send a message that the humans were far from beaten. Mac halted his team just outside the depot's fence and surveyed the defenses. A dozen Vrock sentries patrolled the perimeter. Floodlights mounted on towers bathed the grounds in harsh white light. It was a formidable target for a conventional assault. But the humans had a few unconventional tricks up their sleeves. On Mac's signal, Corporal Lucas Apex Axton broke from cover and hurled a jury-rigged EMP grenade toward the lighting towers. The makeshift device detonated in a blinding flash, causing the floodlights to flicker and die. At the same moment, Hondo and Corporal Tanya Raven Ivanova opened fire with silenced weapons, precisely eliminating the sentries closest to their infiltration point. In the ensuing confusion, Mac and his squad surged forward, quickly cutting through the fence and racing into the depot grounds. They split into 2-person teams, each with a specific target. Hondo and Raven made a beeline for the vehicle pool, planting demo charges on the neatly parked rows of Vrock's transports. Apex and Private Owen Colt Carter hit the ammo dump, rigging it with explosives. Mac and Private Jace Rook Briggs took the fuel depot, sloshing petroleum accelerant over the alien chemical stores. 2 minutes Mac calmed over their encrypted tactical net. "Finish up and rendezvous is at the exfil point." Acknowledgement lights winked in his HUD as the teams completed their tasks and began pulling back. Shouts of alarm arose as the Vrocks responded to the intrusion. A squad of alien soldiers burst from a barracks building and immediately came under withering fire from Rook's saw as Mac covered the retreat. The humans broke contact and vanished into the night, just as the first explosions tore through the supply depot. The ammo dump went up in a massive fireball, setting off secondary blasts that ripped through the vehicle pool. An inferno raged out of control, consuming the fuel reserves and sending thick black smoke billowing into the sky. Vrock's troops swarmed the devastated base in a futile attempt to quell the flames. Mac led his fighters to a pre-arranged rendezvous point deep in the jungle several clicks from the colony. One by one they checked in, weary but elated. They had struck their first blow against the alien invaders. Morale soared, a feeling that they could actually win this thing kindling in their hearts. But the war was just beginning. Over the next several days, the resistance stepped up its attacks. Mac and his guerrillas ambushed Varrock's patrols, mined roads, sniped sentries, and bombed checkpoints. The aliens responded with increased brutality, conducting mass arrests and public executions of suspected collaborators. Mac walked a razor's edge, trying to balance the need to keep pressure on the Varrocks with protecting the civilian population. He could not allow the aliens to goad him into a stand-up fight he could not win. Mobility and stealth were the keys to victory. Hit hard, hit often, then melt away before the enemy can bring their superior numbers and firepower to bear. Weeks ground by in a never-ending cycle of raids, reprisals, and escalating violence. Losses mounted on both sides. The Varrocks remained in control of the major population centers, but the humans owned the hinterlands. For every fighter the resistance lost, they bled the aliens twice over through ambushes and sabotage. Yet for all their tactical successes, Mac knew they were locked in a stalemate. The Varrocks could replace their losses more easily than the resistance. If the humans were to have any chance, they needed to do more than just harass the invaders. They needed to strike a crippling blow to the Varrocks' presence on Kepler 438 billion. It would require a daring plan, and Mac thought he had just the scheme in mind. You want us to infiltrate the Varrocks' headquarters in the heart of their occupation zone, rig it with enough demo to bring the whole place down, and exfil without getting caught, Hondo asked incredulously after Mac laid out his audacious proposal. Sarge, I know we're good, but that's a damn tall order. This is our chance to finally break the stalemate, Mac argued passionately. Taking out the occupation HQ will decapitate their local command structure, at least temporarily. If we time it right, we can use the chaos and confusion to launch a mass uprising in the major cities. Get the civilians to rise up and take back their homes. With the Varrocks reeling, we can drive them off Kepler 438 billion for good. Hondo slowly nodded. It's one hell of a gamble, but I'm in. Let's do this. Over the next week, Mac and his team meticulously planned the operation. They gathered intelligence on the Varrocks' headquarters, analyzing guard rotations, security systems, and structural schematics. Apex and Rook conducted recon, sneaking into the occupied capital to scout infiltration routes and map the internals of the target building. In the meantime, Hondo and Raven scraped together every bit of demo and ordnance they could acquire, enough to bring down a skyscraper. The day of the operation dawned gray and overcast. Mac and his team slipped through the pre-dawn streets of the capital like ghosts, clad in purloined Varrocks uniforms. They converged on the HQ, just as the morning guard shift changed over. In the confusion, they infiltrated the building and made their way to a mechanical room in the sub-basement Apex had previously identified. Working quickly, the humans planted the explosives at critical structural points throughout the maintenance level. Mac kept a wary eye on his mission clock as the timer counted inexorably down. 5 minutes. Button it up and let's get the hell out of here. They were just clearing the sub-basement when alarms blared to life throughout the building. Alert! Human infiltrators detected a mechanical voice thundered over the intercom. All units respond. So much for a smooth exfil, Hondo growled. Mac made a snap decision. Abort the stealth egress. We'll have to shoot our way out. He punched up the detonation sequence on his wrist computer, triggering the charges. Now. A series of tremendous explosions rocked the building as the demo ripped through the sub-basement. The blast shockwave hurled the humans from their feet. Struggling upright amid a rain of debris, Mac saw the corridor rapidly filling with dust and smoke. The structure groaned ominously around them, girders twisting and supports splintering. They had minutes at best before the whole building came down. Move, Mac bellowed. The team raced for the surface, hurdling rubble and charging up flights of stairs as the HQ crumbled around them. They emerged into a scene of utter pandemonium. Varrock soldiers swarmed in confusion as the building burned and secondary blasts erupted. The humans cut down the disoriented aliens with precise bursts of weapons fire and kept moving. They broke out of the occupation zone and fled toward the resistance-controlled outskirts. Behind them, the Varrocks' headquarters collapsed in on itself, a plume of smoke and pulverized concrete climbing into the sky. All cells, initiate the uprising, Mac calmed over the rebel bands. Take back our homes. All across the planet, resistance fighters surged into action, attacking Varrock's strong points and rallying the civilian population. Freed from the threat of reprisal by the Varrock's loss of their central command, ordinary citizens took to the streets, overwhelming and routing the alien garrisons. The Varrock's foothold on Kepler 438 billion swiftly crumbled. In the aftermath of the successful planetary uprising, Mac and his guerrillas became heroes and legends. The Terran colonial administration moved in to re-establish control and oust the last pockets of Varrock's invaders. A week after the liberation, Mac and his team stood together watching the sunrise from a bluff overlooking the once-again free colony. The eastern sky ignited in hues of orange and amber as a new day dawned. "Think the Varrocks will be back?" Colt mused. "If they are, we'll be ready for them," Mac replied. "We know how to fight this kind of war. It's in our bones. Our ancestors were resistance fighters, guerrillas, partisans. For us, warfare isn't about meeting the enemy on the open field and slugging it out toe-to-toe. It's about stealth, speed, surprise, and determination. No army, no matter how advanced, can stand against us once we take the fight to the shadows." He looked out over the colony, still bearing the scars of war but already starting to rebuild. The Varrocks learned that the hard way. If they come back, we'll teach them the lesson all over again. That's the human way.